So let's now finish off this section by looking at a few more mathematical functions. And these will be the sequence, large and small, and the rank functions. And for this lecture, we'll be working from a blank workbook. Let's start by looking at the sequence function. Sequence can be used to generate a list of sequential numbers. And it can also be used in conjunction with other functions like date to create a large number of dates automatically. So I'll create a new column heading in our first column, just called sequence, and below this we'll create our function. So the function is just called sequence, and then in here we need to specify our number of rows. So I'll just enter 100 and hit enter. And this then, as we can see, just creates a list of numbers from 1 all the way up to 100. If we go back to our function and add in the optional columns argument, and we'll set it to 2, we can see that we now get 2 columns with 100 values in each. Let's now take a look at using sequence with the date function to create a list of dates. So off to the right of our first function, we'll create another sequence function, again with 100 rows, but this time we'll have them all in one column. So we can either enter a 1 here, or just enter another comma to skip on to the next argument. And then for our start, we'll enter the date function. And we'll start our date in 2024 on the 1st of January. So 2024, and then 1 for our next 2 arguments. And then in the step argument, this is where we can specify the jump between each date. But we'll leave it as the default, which is 1. And then if we hit enter on this, it'll return a list of 100 numbers. And these currently don't look like dates, so we'll go up to our number group and format these as a short date. And there we go. We now have our different dates starting on the 1st of January 2024 and going up by 1 day in each row for 100 separate rows. If we change our function to have a step of 2, we then get an increase of 2 days each time. Next up, we'll have a look at the large and small functions. And for this example here, just feel free to watch and take a few notes as we go along. So I've gone ahead and created a small dataset containing some information on various items and their associated price. If you do want to follow along, you can find this spreadsheet attached to this lecture's resources. As we can see here, within our dataset, we have our products listed here on the left, and then their associated price in column C. If we wanted to return the most expensive or the cheapest items, we could use the max and min functions. But the drawback with this is that we can't return any items in between our maximum and minimum values. And this is where the large and small functions can come in handy. Let's use the large function to return the top 3 most expensive items. Off to the right of our dataset, in column E, we'll enter 1, 2, and 3 into separate rows. And then in the next column, we'll enter our function. So we'll start it with equals and then large. And then our first argument is the array, and this will be our list of prices. And then our next argument is k, and this is just the ranking that we're interested in looking at. So we wanted the first, second, and third most expensive items, so I'll just click and drag to select our 3 rank values here in cell E2 through to cell E4. If we now press enter, Excel will return our top 3 most expensive items. If we change our 3 here in cell E4 to number 6, Excel will then return the 6th most expensive item in our list, which was $50, and that's for our jeans. And this here is one of the massive advantages of using these functions, and that's that we can dynamically change the return values. The small function works in the exact same way, except it'll return the items with the smallest values, as we can see here. So the first, second, and third cheapest items. The final function we'll look at in this lecture and this section is the rank function, and this can be used to return the ranking of a value relative to others in a dataset. And this function is similar to the large and small functions that we just covered, with the added benefit that it works seamlessly across an entire cell range and removes the need for the manual specification of rank, like we had to enter here in cell E2, E3, and E4. If we start searching for the rank function, we'll see we get 3 different rank functions. The 2 that we'll use most often are the rank and the rank EQ. Rank has been deprecated and was replaced by rank EQ, but for compatibility reasons, rank has been left in Excel as a usable function. So let's select rank EQ, and then our first argument will be the number that we want to rank, which in this case will be the price of our first item, which is in cell C2. Our second argument will be the values that we want to compare or rank it against, which again, in our case, will be the entire price column, which is column C. And then if we fill this function down for the rest of our items, we can see that Excel has calculated the ranking for the price of each of our items relative to the available prices, with the laptop coming in as the most expensive item at $1,000 and the fiction book coming in at the cheapest at $15 with a rank of 9. The final optional argument available to this function is the order argument, and this allows us to change the order in which the data is ranked, so either in descending or ascending order, and by default it uses the descending order. And if we add in our order argument and specify ascending, we'll see that the rank is flipped, with our cheapest item now coming in at rank 1 and our most expensive item at rank 9. And with this, we can now wrap up our section on Excel functions. So we've covered a lot in this section here. So if there's anything here that you're not quite too sure on, please either feel free to go back and watch any relevant lectures again, or post any questions you might have down in the Q&A section below, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you might have. So let's leave this section here and go take a well-deserved break, and then in the next section, we'll have a look at data visualization and graphs in Excel.